Hello, friends. Welcome to our YouTube channel, yours truly G. And in this video, we're gonna cover top 50 questions for your upcoming Central Bank of India Specialist Officer, IT Officer examination related to computer network and information security. And these 50 questions are very standard questions, previously asked questions, and important question as well. Okay, so you are going to learn concept from these questions as well. We are not only discussing about the question and answer, you will have a better understanding of the concepts from these questions. And again, this will be very useful for your upcoming examination, especially Central Bank of India Specialist Officer, IT Officer examination. So those who are watching this video for the first time, I would request you to please subscribe my channel, share with your friends, hit the like button and write your feedback as well. So this video definitely, again, I am telling you, will boost your confidence level and increase your marks in upcoming examination. So this is very important video for your upcoming examination. So without wasting the time, let's get started. Let's jump into the questions directly. So these are top 50 standard questions, previously asked question and important questions. The selective questions I have taken, and we will learn the concept from these questions. Okay, so let's get started. Yeah. So our first question is, which of the following is not a valid multicast MAC address? Okay. So out of these four options, which are not a valid multicast MAC address? So let's first observe the options basically. So in all the options, you can see that 0 0 0 0 0 0 last, and the last option is uh, all the bits are FF means all are one. So first of all, while solving this type of question, you should know the valid, what is the MAC address range for the multicast basically, what is the range for that. So for the multicast MAC address range, the range is this one. You can see the range. So if you observe all the options, option A falls under this range, option B falls under this range, option C falls under this range. But if you observe option D, which is outside this range, you can see this is here F and F, but here the range is below 7F and equal to 7F. So by clearly observing the range, you can easily answer this type of question. So this is also very important question. MAC address, we already know it's a physical address. Okay, we have already discussed what is the MAC address, ARP. So this is the question related to, they have given the four option and they are asking which is not a valid multicast MAC address. So solving this type of question, first of all, you have to remember the range of the multicast MAC address. So the range for the multicast MAC address is, you can see here to here, and by looking all the options, we can easily say that this falls under this range. Option B falls under our MAC address range. Option C as well falls under MAC address range, but option D is not falling in this category. It's going beyond this range. So option D is not the correct answer. Option D is not a valid multicast MAC address. So option D will be our, the correct answer for this question, because they have asked what is not a valid multicast MAC address. Hope you guys have a understanding on this. So the what is the note here? What we have to note from this question is, we have to first understand what is the multicast MAC address range for this. So first of all, you have to understand the MAC address range. You have to know the MAC address range. Then only you can answer this type of questions. Okay. So this is very important range you have to understand. Then only you can answer this type of questions. Okay. So now jump into the next question. So the next question is, an example of non-adaptive routing algorithm is. So let's first discuss the option here. So the first option is shorted path routing, Barron's hot potato routing, backwards learning routing algorithm, and linked state routing algorithm. So before answering this type of question, you have to understand what is adaptive routing and non-adaptive routing. So name itself speaks everything. What is adaptive routing? Adaptive routing algorithm route changes dynamically as a function of current state of a network. Okay, and non-adaptive routing algorithm, routes are computed in advance offline and downloaded to routes when booted. These are static and fixed. So what happens in adaptive routing algorithm are, the paths are not fixed. Suppose I have to send this packet through these nodes. So the path is not fixed. It's not fixed like this packet has to move from this path only. There is no fixed path defined for that. Okay. Adaptive routing algorithm can attain any path, can create its own path based on the conditions, and it can directly choose. It can automatically choose the shortest path to go to the from source to destination. So it's not a static. It's basically a variable. But coming to the non-adaptive routing algorithm, these paths are statics and fixed. Okay, so there is a fixed defined path. Okay, I have this is sender, this is receiver, and suppose there are 6 to 7 nodes are there. So the packet should move from this fixed path only. They don't have any choice. Okay, so this packet must have to move from this nodes to reach to the destination basically. So non-adaptive routing algorithm are the fixed path algorithm, and this is very important question. What is the example of non-adaptive routing algorithm? So the example of non-adaptive routing algorithm is shortest path routing. And for the and again I am telling you answer is not important. That's why I have mentioned two more important and very repeatedly asked question from this question as well. What is the example of non-adaptive routing algorithm? One is sorted path routing algorithm that we have already seen in this question, and one more is flooding algorithm comes under non-adaptive routing algorithm. So you have to remember that this is the best approach to crack any examination. We have only one question and we have received 2 to 3 more important points from this question. Like what is the example of non-adaptive routing algorithm? So we have two standard example. One is shortest path routing and second is flooding. Okay. Coming to the next example. So example of adaptive routing algorithm is distance vector routing state and link state routing algorithm. These all are very important routing algorithm and repeatedly asked in many competitive examinations. So this adaptive routing algorithm also you have to remember the example, because if they will ask the question will be basically framing, they are framing the question from the previously asked questions as well, because these all are very basic and important questions. So they will frame such type of question like what is the example of adaptive routing algorithm? For the adaptive routing algorithm, the basic standard examples are distance vector routing and link state routing. Okay, and for non-adaptive routing algorithm, the standard example are shortest path routing and flooding. So you can see that in one question we have covered a lot of things about the routing algorithm. Okay, so these all are important example. You have to note it down and you have to remember it. Here they have asked only one example related to non-adaptive routing algorithm, and the simple answer would be shortest path routing algorithm. Okay, for non-adaptive routing algorithm, examples are shortest path routing and flooding, and for adaptive routing algorithm, examples are distance vector routing and link state routing. Okay, and you definition you can easily understand, and for basic concept you just have to remember non-adaptive means it will not adapt, anything changes, means its roots are fixed. If it has to move from sender to receiver in this path, if it will move in this path only, it will not create any changes at any particular moment of time. And for adaptive routing algorithm, adaptive means it can adapt any situation. Like suppose here, this packet has to move from sender to receiver in this way, but according to the situation it can go from this way as well. So such type of things happens in adaptive routing algorithm. Okay, so hope from this question we have gained a lot of concept regarding routing algorithm, and these all are standard, as I told, standard example related to the routing algorithm. Okay, so now moving to the next questions, next standard questions, and this is also very 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 important question related to security part basically. Pgp, pretty good privacy, is used for what purpose basically? This is also very important question. Last year they have already asked this type of question in one of the I think it's on I think Oriental Bank of Commerce or something, like they have asked from information security officer. PGP, pretty good privacy, is used for what purpose? For browsing security, for email security, or file transfer protocol security, or none? Okay, so the standard answer will be PGP. Basically, those who are working professional can easily relate. PGP is used for the email security, basically. So let's discuss some points regarding PGP. As I told, answer is not important. We have to learn few concepts as well. So PGP is basically developed by Semantic. Basically, Semantic is an organization. So PGP is developed by it's a semantic product. So let's understand what is PGP. So PGP encryption or pretty good privacy encryption is a data encryption computer program that gives cryptography, privacy and authentication for online communication. So it's basically allowing us to have a authentication, privacy and cryptographic privacy for our online communication. Basically what is happening is like it is basically used to encrypt and decrypt text, emails and files to increase the security of the email. You can easily now understand what is happening in the background. So what is doing basically PGP is doing encrypt and decrypt the text, emails and files to increase the security of the emails. Suppose you are sending the email, so there are files involved in that, there are text involved in that. So PGP basically deals with encryption and decryption and enhancing the security of the emails. So PGP encryption uses a mix of data compression, hashing, and public key cryptography. It also uses symmetric and asymmetric keys to encrypt data that is transferred across the network. Okay, and the last point is very important. It combines feature of private and public key cryptography. Each step uses a different algorithm, and each public key is associated with username and email address. Okay, so in a nutshell, what you have to remember is first point: PGP is basically deal with the email security. Okay, all it basically encrypt and decrypt the text, email files associated with emails. Okay, and the second thing is you can here go through all these basic points. That's why I have written there, and it is a product of semantic. Okay, so these all are the points related to PGP. Okay. Now moving to the next question. So next question is Kerberos version 4 require the use of. This is also very important question related to security point of view. So Kerberos version 4. Now we have Kerberos version 5 as well, but I have taken this from the previous year question. So it was from Kerberos version 4. So Kerberos version 4 and Kerberos version 5 are basically related to Kerberos, and it's an advanced version of Kerberos 4. So that's why its name is Kerberos version 5. So what happens? Let's first discuss the question. Kerberos version 4 require the use of MAC address, IP address, Ethernet link address, IP address or none. Okay. So Kerberos basically work in the IP address basically. Okay, Kerberos uses the IP address to provide authentication. Okay, this is basically used for the authentication purpose. Kerberos is basically whenever Kerberos is asking in the examination, your mind should directly strike, okay, Kerberos is basically for the authentication purpose and it uses IP address for that. So let's discuss the few basic points related to Kerberos basically. So Kerberos is a web-based software which is used for providing authentication to user identities and user requests. As I told, it is used for authentication purpose, and it's a web-based software running in the web console. Okay, so Kerberos V4 uses DES encryption technique. This is also very important question. I already asked in one of the examination, like Kerberos V4 uses which encryption technique? So it uses DES. Okay, you will be provided four options. The correct option should be DES. Kerberos uses IP addressing. As I already mentioned, Kerberos uses IP addressing, and now we have a Kerberos version 5 as well, recently launched, I think near around 2000 basically, or 2003. So Kerberos version 5 is the new version for Kerberos. So here what we have to take from this question is, first of all, what is Kerberos? That we have already learned, like it is used for authentication purpose. Kerberos V4 uses which encryption technique? DES encryption technique. Okay, and it uses IP addressing. I think this is the same question. And Kerberos version 4 require which address? It is IP address. And now we have a latest version as well, just for the information point of view, I have mentioned the last point that we have a version 5 now. But the question basically that have been asked till date is related to Kerberos version 4, and what is the use of Kerberos and the encryption technique used by the Kerberos. Okay, so these all are very important point, as I already telling you from the last few videos, so that you have to note it down somewhere, create the notes, and that will definitely boost your confidence level in your upcoming examination. So let's move to the next question. Yeah, so the next question again is from the security point of view. It's related to viruses and malicious programs. So let's discuss the question. The question is, which of the following malicious program do not replicate automatically? That's a very important question basically. So, which is the malicious program which do not replicate automatically? Okay. So the options are Trojan horse, virus, worm, and zombie. Okay. So the correct answer is Trojan horse. This is very important questions, and you can expect this type of question in your upcoming examination. So Trojan horse is a type of malicious program, basically, which do not replicate automatically. So what happens? Let's discuss important points related to this. It is a type of malicious software developed by hackers to disguise as a legitimate software to gain access to the target user's system. Users are typically tricked by some attractive social media ads who then directed to malicious website, thereby loading and executing trojans on their website. So what happens is you can see, I think I think you have also experienced such type of situation when you are accessing some of the website. You can see some ads or social media advertisement at the bottom or at the top left corner of your web screen. So once you will click on that ad, they will directly click to the malicious website, and a trojan or a malicious software will be installed to your system basically. So that is happening basically in the background related to Trojan horse. So what happens is this is a type of virus, but we cannot say it's a virus, because what happens is viruses can execute and replicate themselves. The most important point related to viruses are, being an information security engineer, you should know that viruses can execute and replicate themselves, but Trojan cannot. Trojan is a part of virus, but Trojan cannot replicate automatically. Okay, user has to execute Trojan. As I already told, suppose you are opening any screen on your PC or your laptop, and suppose you have a ad screen. You just click on that screen, and it will take you to the malicious website, and Trojan program will be installed in that. Okay, and it will not replicate automatically. User has to install all those malicious software. So that's why the basic difference between viruses and Trojan horse is, virus can replicate itself, virus can execute itself, but Trojan horse, do not replicate automatically. So that's why this is very important question basically. Okay. Now let's move to the next question. So the next question is, another name of IEEE 802.11a is. So those who are watching this video for the first time, again, I'm telling you, we have already covered all the standard IEEE versions, all IEEE standards in a single slide. So, those who have already watched that video, I think they can easily mark the correct answer as IEEE 802.11a is associated with the Wi-Fi. So those who have not watched, I will request you to watch that video in our, playlist of our channel. You can go and watch that videos as well. So let's discuss this question in a detailed manner. As I told, question is not important. So we have to gain some concepts from this question, because this is a previously asked question. And so let's discuss IEEE 802.11a is. Just concentrate this question: WiMAX, Fast Ethernet, Wi-Fi, and 802.11g. So those who have already watched that video, they will have some confusion, like 802.11g is also associated with the Wi-Fi. Basically, as I told, 802.11 series. Okay, there are few series are there, like A, B, G, and N. These all are related with Wi-Fi. But why they have not, they have given this option as well? It means there is some ambiguity, but no. What happens is 802.11, I am agree with you that these all are associated with Wi-Fi. But 802.11g and 802.11a totally, they are totally different standards. Basically, we cannot say that IEEE 802.11a and IEEE 802.11g are same. Okay, let's discuss. What I am trying to say is we have three things. Okay, 802.11a, okay, b, okay. So a is entirely different, b is similar to g, and we have now n also, 802.11n. These all are, as I told, all are related with Wi-Fi. But since in the question they have written IEEE 802.11a is what Wi-Fi, because it cannot be same as 802.11g. Why? Because now the point is 802.11g works on the frequency of 2.4 gigahertz. Okay, and b also, b and g both works on the frequency of 2.4 gigahertz. But 802.11a works on the frequency of 5 gigahertz. That's why both are different, they are not similar. Okay, that you have to understand it. And 802.11, and it's a new technology. Basically, it operates in both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. So hope now you will have a better understanding of all the standard related to Wi-Fi. Again, I am telling you, there are many standard related to Wi-Fi, but all falls under the category of 802.11. But in 802.11, 3 to 4 categories are there. 802.11a, 802.11b, 802.11c, and 802.11n. Okay, so A works on the frequency of 5 gigahertz, B and G works on the frequency of 2.5 gigahertz, and N works on both 5 and 2.5G. Okay, so hope now you will have a better understanding. This is very important question. They can create a different type of question from one question, like what is the standard of IEEE 802.11n is associated with what. So it is also associated with Wi-Fi. Or they can create 802.11b works on which frequency. So you have to know that, okay, this all works on the frequency of 2.4 gigahertz. That's why I have mentioned these points. Like 802.11n operate in both 2.5 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. That's already, we have already covered this. Second point is IEEE 802.11a is the standard for Wi-Fi providing data rate of 54 Mbps at 5 gigahertz. Here frequency is important. Okay, and the last but not the least is 802.11g operates in the crowded 2.4 gigahertz and is same as 802.11b. As I already told, like G and N both are same. Okay, and support at a maximum rate of 54 Mbps. Okay, so I hope all these four categories related to IEEE standard 802.11 is now clear. Both are related to Wi-Fi, but the only difference is the operating frequency. 11.11a operates on 5 gigahertz, 11 B and G operate on 2.4 gigahertz, and N operate on both the frequency. Okay, so hope now you will have a better understanding. Let's move to the next question. Yeah, so the next question is again a very important question, and in one question, I have covered each and everything related to the viruses. So let's jump into that question directly. So the question is, which of the following categories of viruses normally infect executable code such as .com and .executable file? So we have already seen a lot of executable files. Okay, we used to download in day-to-day activity. Suppose we have a software and if you want to download it, we will have a executable file in the format of .exe extension. So these all are executable files. Okay, so what happens is the question is, which of the following category of viruses normally affect executable code? Okay, so let's first discuss the options: file infector viruses, boot sector viruses, master boot rooted viruses, and macro viruses. Okay, so these all four viruses are first of all very important. You should have a better understanding, of each definition of each viruses. For a particular question, which virus affects basically executable code like .com or .executable file, the answer would be file infector viruses. Okay, so let's first discuss each and everything. So file infecting viruses is a type of malware that infect executable files. with the intent to cause a permanent damage or make them unusable. Okay, a file infecting virus overrides code or inserts infected code into a executable file. So I think now it's clear what, basically the purpose of file infector viruses. It will damage your executable code. It will make them unusable. It will insert some viruses into that, and that executable code will not behave like a normal function. It will There will be a aberrant behavior in that. So that type of things, file infector viruses can perform. So the example of a very popular, file infector virus is win32.sality.pk is a popular file infecting virus that was among top 10 malware infections. Okay, so this is example also you have to remember it. They can ask like this comes under which category of virus. So you have to remember that. So write it down somewhere. You have to remember these things. A file injecting virus may also be known as a file injector. It is also known as file injector. Okay, now, the second option was boot sector virus. So let's discuss, okay, what is boot sector virus? So from the name itself, I think you will have some idea like it's going to impact your, some boot records or something like that. So let's discuss what is boot sector viruses. So floppy disk and hard disk store a small program which is known as boot record, which is run when the computer starts up. Okay, that we already know. Boot sector viruses attach themselves to this program and execute when the computer tries to start up from the infected disk. And once a computer has been infected, any unprotected floppy disk put into the computer will also be infected. An infected machine will often refuse to start. Some examples are this one, Michelangelo and Stone, basically. Okay, so what happens in boot sector viruses is, so there are some boot record program available in the floppy disk and some hard disk. Okay, when the computer starts, this all boot records program runs automatically. So what happens in that? So these viruses attach themselves in such type of programs and execute it. Okay, so what happens is it will infect the computer. It will not allow the computer to start, or it will affect the normal, the functioning of this computer. Okay, so this type of virus is known as boot sector virus. Okay, if you go through all this definition, it's a basic, clear and crystal statement I have mentioned. So it's a basic definition of boot sector viruses. And let's discuss what is macro viruses. So macro viruses, basically, this is also very important. These in fact data files such as Word documents or Excel spreadsheet rather than program. So this is basically, it's already asked in one of the competitive examination, like which virus affect your Word document or Excel or your PowerPoint, something like that. So the answer would be macro viruses. It's not affecting the program, it's affecting some of the data files like Word or Excel or PPT, something like that. Okay, and you can see that the basic standard example of macro viruses is WN7M.Melissa and WM.NiceDay. These all are the naming convention as per the information security team. Okay, so it's just you have to note it down somewhere. You have to remember. So these all are that classification of viruses. Here the question was basically which virus affect the executable code. And now I think you will not forget infector viruses. Okay, so in a nutshell, let's discuss what is the summary. File infector viruses affect your executable code. Boot sector viruses affect your the boot record or the floppy disk and the program that is used to start your computer. Master boot rooted viruses and macro viruses, as I already discussed, it basically affect your Word document, your Excel, your PowerPoint, such type of data files that will affect. Okay, so this is I think more than sufficient for this question. Let's move to the next question, next slide, basically. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. Yeah. So next question is also very interesting question and already asked in one of the competitive examination. So see this, for solving this type of question, you should have a, the concept and the basics should be clear to answer this type of question. The question is, an acknowledgement number of 1,000 in TCP always means that in a TCP transmission, if I have an acknowledgement number of 1,000, what is the meaning of that? So let's discuss first options. So the option is 999 bytes have been successfully received. Okay. 1,000 bytes have been successfully received. Okay. and 1001 bytes have been successfully received. What is the meaning? If I have an acknowledgement number of 1000 with me, what can I have a perspective? What can I predict? Like 999 bytes have been received, or 1000 bytes have been received, or 1001 bytes have been received. So after going through the explanation, you will be having a knowledge of why I have marked the correct answer as none, and the answer of this question, the correct answer of this question will be none. Why? Because let's understand these four basic points I have mentioned to elaborate this question. In TCP, acknowledgement numbers specify the next byte. Okay, whatever the acknowledgement number I have, it will specify the next byte. Okay, so since acknowledgement number is 1000, it means byte 999 has been received. But stop here, you have to pause here, because the correct answer is not 999. Why? Because the next point will explain you why. But the initial sequence number is not specified. We cannot say about the bytes. It's okay. That I am totally agree. Like if acknowledgement number is 1000, it means that I have received 999 bytes. That's why I have received the acknowledgement number 1000. But they have not mentioned the initial byte, initial sequence number. How you can say that, the bytes have started from 1 or 0? There is no any sequence number. So to calculate the number of bytes successfully received, we should must know the initial byte number. If we have the initial byte number, then we can easily correlate that, okay, if the initial byte is 0 and if I am receiving 1000, it means 999 bytes had been received. But I don't know about the initial byte. Initial byte can be anything. It's 123. So you cannot say that 99 byte had been received. They have it started. It's starting from 123. So 123 plus 999 bit will be your that bytes have been already received. So since the specific initial sequence has not been provided in the question, so the answer is none. So you can see and you can feel the beauty of this question. What a basic question they have asked, and they just wanted to check your understanding in this type of question. So they have given the acknowledgement number, that I am okay. If acknowledgement number is 1000, it means the byte 999 till byte 999 I have received. Okay, but there is no initial sequence number, so I cannot tell that, okay, 999 bytes have been received. Okay, if they have given the initial number, then I can tell you directly by adding whatever the acknowledgement number I have received plus the initial sequence number. Then I can say, okay, till this byte I have received. But since they have not provided the initial sequence number, the answer would be none. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed this question. This is very important question, and you can see you can learn the functionality of acknowledgement number in TCP. So that point you can gain from this type of question. Okay, let's move to the next question. Which layer of OSI reference model are host to host layer? Before discussing this question, again I am telling you, I have not mentioned any question related to OSI model. Why? Because I'm telling you one or two question you will definitely expect from OSI layers functionality. And why I have not mentioned anything related to the functionality of OSI layers, because we have already covered all the important functionality, and I'm pretty sure and I'm promising you, if any function will come from any layer of OSI model, OSI layers, that functionality will be definitely from our slide. So those who are watching this video for the first time, again I'm telling you, go and please watch that video. We have covered each layer and the functionality, protocols, devices associated with that in a very smart way, manner, in a point-wise manner, in a previous year questions manner. So you will find all the question related to layers, functionality, questions related to layer in that slide. So that's why I have not taken that question, because there is no meaning in just trying to repeat that question and creating the video. There is no any meaning in that. So let's discuss a new question related to OSI reference model. Which layer of OSI reference model are host to host layer? Okay, so let's discuss what are host to host layers. So transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, application layer, session layer, presentation, application, data link, transport, presentation, application, and the last is physical data link network transport. So the host to host layers are transport, session, presentation, and application. So from transport to application, these all comes under host to host layers. Okay, these all are host layer of OSI model. So that you have to remember it. It's a important question already asked in one of the competitive examination. Again, I'm telling you, one question definitely you can expect from the functions of the OSI layer model, and that we have already covered in a point-wise manner. Again, I am telling you, you will not find such type of points in any videos. Go and watch that video. That will be very useful. It will increase 1 or 2 marks in your competitive examination. Okay, so these all are the 2 points in this slide. Let's move to the next slide. Okay. Yeah. So the next slide is let's discuss. Yeah. So the question is the range of IP address from 224.0.0.0 to 239.255.255.255R. So again, in the last video, I think we have discussed IPv4 and IPv5. So you can easily understand that class D and class E are used for the multicast purpose. Okay, so you can see that, okay, from by looking at this range, that's why I told range are very important. You have to remember that. And suppose you have already remembered this question is just a cakewalk for you. It's nothing, like, you can see this range, okay, 224.0.0 to 239.255. It means it's a class D. By looking into the range, you can already have an idea, like, okay, this comes under class D, and class D is nothing but a multicast packet. So the answer would be multicast. By looking at the range only, you will take just 1 or 2 seconds to answer this question. And in the previous video, I think some typing mistake or something was there, I don't know. The class D IP address range is basically 244.0.0 to 239.255.255. Already I told it's class D, and class E start from 240 to 255. Okay, so I hope it's a basic thing basically. Okay, so again, I'm telling you, IP range is very important. Okay, you have to remember it. Please remember the IP ranges. It's just five classes are there. Again, it's class E. It's not class D. Class E IP range is 240 to 255. Only five classes are there: class A, class B, class C, class D, and class E. And there are n number of questions are forming from this type of classes, and basically particularly from range. They will give any IP address, in many basic competitive examination, in bank examination only, they will give such type of random IP address, and they will ask, this IP and address will fall under which class A, class B, class C, class D, class E. All you have to do is just remember the range of all these classes. Very, very, very important. Again, I am telling you, just go and watch that video. And I think some you can correct that. It's a basic thing. Basically, you can have an idea also. But again, I am just written it. Class D is 224 to 239, and class E is 240 to 255. Okay, you have to remember the range. Okay, now I will not discuss anything with this question because we have already discussed a lot in the previous slide in the previous video. So let's discuss the next question. So the next question is, Dijkstra's algorithm is used to. This is also very important algorithm basically. Okay, so you can expect this algorithm in data structure also. You can expect this algorithm in computer network also. It's basically it is used for calculating the shortest path. Basically used for calculating the routing table. Here in terms of computer network, let's discuss what is the question. So a Dijkstra's algorithm is used to create LSAs, flood an internet with information, calculate the routing table, and create a link state database. This question has been asked 2 times. Okay, so you have to remember it. This is used for calculating the routing table. Okay, so Dijkstra's algorithm is used to calculate the routing table. The algorithm is generally used in link state routing protocol. Okay, so these two important points you have to remember related to Dijkstra's algorithm. Okay, this is also very important questions. Okay, now let's move to the next questions. Yeah. So discuss the next question. Yeah. So the next question is, which of the following does not allow multiple users or devices to share one communication line? Okay. So which device will not allow multiple users or devices to share one communication line? And the answer is double plexer. This is very important question. Okay. This comes under communication part. And I think a multiplexer, we all know that it will not be a correct answer because multiplexer is something different. We all know about that. Concentrator is different. Controller is something different. So the correct answer is double plexer. Okay. So I hope you will have a better understanding. You received what I am trying to say. And the second question is, IEEE project 802 divides the data link layer into a upper sublayer and a lower sublayer. that already we have discussed in data link layer. So what happens in see this, we have a data link layer. Okay, so this data link layer has been divided into two parts. One is LLC, logical link control, and second is MAC, medium access control, that we have already discussed. But here again, we have already discussed this point, but again, at that point of time also I was telling this is very important and you have to learn which is lower level and which is higher level. So they have asked like what is the upper sublayer and what is the lower sublayer. So the upper sublayer will be LLC and lower sublayer will be MAC. So again, that's why I told each and every point is very important. Very important. They can ask anything. Okay. So since so LLC is basically an upper layer and MAC is basically a lower layer. Okay, and in that video we have discussed a lot of protocols related with LLC, lot of protocols related with MAC, and we have discussed the functionality of data link layer, we have discussed the functionality of logical link layer, we have discussed the functionality of medium access control layer as well. So that's why I'm telling you again, go and watch that layers videos particularly. Basically that will increase your mark basically. Okay, let's move to the next question. So the next question is ICMP, Internet Control Message Protocol. This is also very important basically. Okay, so Internet Control Message Protocol is used for what purpose? So let's discuss first option. A TCP IP protocol used to dynamically bind a high level IP address to a low level physical hardware address. No, it's nothing related with that. TCP/IP protocol for transferring files from one machine to another machine. No, never. For transferring the file, we have a FTP, trivial FTP, TFTP, but I don't think anything related. ICMP is related with that file transferring protocol. Third option is a protocol used to monitor the computer. No, it is nothing related with that. And for monitoring, we have a IGMP. Okay, and the last option is a protocol that handles error and control messages. That is very important functionality of ICMP. So I already discussed at that point that ICMP has been asked in UP Computer Programmer Examination held on 2018 basically. So ICMP, they have asked the full form basically of ICMP. So ICMP abbreviation is Internet Control Message Protocol, and the functionality is a protocol that handles error and control messages. So that you have to remember that ICMP is nothing related to IP address to a level of physical hardware. If I have an IP address, I want to know the physical address, I will use ARP basically, Address Resolution Protocol. Okay. If I have a transferring the file, I will use basically FTP or trivial FTP. Okay, such type of protocol is there. So this protocol is nothing related with transferring of file and IP address. This is basically used for handling the error and control messages. Okay, so I hope this point is also clear for you guys. Let's discuss the next question. Okay, so yeah, so the next question again is what is the technical name of wireless network? Okay, so let's discuss first option, SSID. The full form of SSID is Service Set Identifier, SSO, Single Sign-On, WPAD, WPA, and BSSID. Okay, so the correct answer is technical name of wireless network is SSID. So now here we have to understand a lot of things from this question. So this SSID is nothing related to your router's name. Okay, suppose we have a router in our home and we, Norman, we used to give name according to our convenience, like Sweet Home or something like that. We used to provide our router name. So this router name is nothing related with the wireless network. The name of the wireless network is given by the network administrator. Those who are a network administrator in organization or a network engineer in any of the organization can easily relate. So for assigning a wireless network, suppose I am working in any organization having 100 employees. Okay, so we have a wireless network organization is surrounded by the wireless network. So I want to give that it's not a router name. I want to assign the naming of the wireless network. For that, SSID is used. And this is given by the network admin. Okay, so let's discuss the important points related to the network ID. First of all, SSID is the, as I told, it's a service set identifier. Okay, it's a unique 32 characters. Okay, used for naming the wireless network. Suppose I have this network. Okay, So how you will identify these all network? For this wireless, we have to give some name to this wireless network. For that, we have a SSID 32 characters long. Okay, so SSID is different than the name assigned to the wireless network. As I already discussed, it is a different 32 characters string that ensure the network name is different from other nearby network. Okay, so that will ensure that my network name is different from the other nearby network, and this is nothing related to the wireless router. Again, I'm telling you. Okay, so two things you have to remember: what is the use of SSID, how much, what is the length of this SSID is 32 characters string length, and what is the abbreviation of SSID is nothing but service set identifier. Okay, let's discuss the next question. DNS is used to locate, this is also very important question. DNS is basically used to locate what? MAC address URL, IP address of the URL, root domain of URL, or domain name of a URL. So you have to know each and everything. So first of all, you have to know what is DNS basically. Okay. In a short, just wanted to let you know that. Suppose uh, you are, just trying to access the facebook.com. Okay. So since we are the human being, basically we are not, we can't, remember all the IP address related to your website. So what we used to do is we open any browser like Chrome browser or Mozilla browser, and we just type in our browser facebook.com. So what happens in, there will be a DNS server. So this DNS server will work for you. It will allow your fb.com, facebook.com, and it will convert the IP address associated with that. Suppose if the the IP address associated with the facebook.com is 123.57, okay, dot 1.0, something like that. So it will convert your facebook.com to IP address. And why IP address is necessary? Again, as I told many times, to identify any server where the facebook.com is hosted, you need an IP address. Then only your packet will go and you can fetch the data. So all those things will be converted by DNS, domain name system. You are just typing the URL, it is converting into the IP address. And there are a lot of things involved in that. I don't want to go into that. What happens is, like, suppose in first of all, DNS has also various categories. Okay, so suppose I am typing facebook.com in my browser. Okay, so first of all, it will check in his cache basically. Okay, whether I have this IP address associated with facebook.com with me or not. If it is there, it will directly send it to that fb.com IP address. But suppose that IP address is not available in his local cache, so it will further send into the DNS root server. Okay, it will further send into the DNS root server, and it will ask whether you have the IP address of fb.com or not. Suppose this DNS root server will have this IP address for facebook.com, it will give you that IP address, and then you can send this packet to the particular destination. Again, in that case, many scenario, this DNS root server will not also having not IP address related to facebook.com, it will further send it to the DNS root to root server. So such type of hierarchy is there spread into the environment, network environment basically. So such type of functionality is done by DNS. So DNS is doing nothing. It will convert all the URL whatever you are typing into the IP address. Okay, so the correct answer is IP address. So hope you will now have a better understanding of IP addresses. Sorry, DNS. Okay, so now move to the next slide. Yeah. So the next slide is very important as far theoretical question point of view is concerned. So the question is the maximum window size for data transmission using selective reject protocol with n bit frame is. So there are 2 to 3 types of protocol. One is selective reject, go back, and protocol. So you have to remember the formula associated with that. Derivation is not important basically, and I think we have already covered, few of these like aloha and slotted aloha as well. In that also we have covered the basic channel efficiency and all those things. So again, at that point of time, I was telling that proof is not important. You have to remember the formula, because in MCQ type of question they will directly ask the formula for that. So the maximum window size for selective reject protocol is 2 raised to power n minus 1. Okay. 2 raised to power n minus 1. You have to remember that for selective reject protocol. Okay, and for one more protocol is there, that's why I have mentioned explicitly here, like what is the maximum window size for go back n. So maximum window size for go back n protocol is 2 raised to power n minus of 1. So you have to feel the difference here. N minus 1 is in the power of 2, here n is just only the power of 2 and then minus 1. Okay, so you have to remember that. Okay, so since I have discussed only the formula because here we are just discussing the question basically. Okay, so you have to remember that the maximum window size for the selective reject protocol for n bit sequence number is 2 raised to power n minus 1, and for go back n it should be 2 raised to power n minus of 1. So just write it down somewhere. This is also very important question. Okay, now let's move to the next and very important question. Very important question nowadays. IPsec, IP security part. So the question is, IPsec is designed to provide the security at the, okay, so IPsec is basically a network layer protocol. Okay, and in that video also, as I am telling you, this IPsec protocol, we have discussed protocols related with each and every layer. There also we have mentioned IPsec under the network layer. But again, I am telling you the answer is not important. The simple answer is IPsec is the protocol of network layer. But we have to understand concept of IPsec, basically the important points, and whatever the question that have been asked related to the IPsec, we will discuss in a point-wise manner. So what is IPsec basically? So it is a secure network protocol suite of IPv4 that authenticate and encrypt the data packets sent over IPv4 network. So whatever the data packets that we have sent over the IPv4 network, IPsec suite provide authentication and encryption to those data packets. Okay, so IPsec is a connection-oriented protocol. This is also very important, asked in one of the examinations. IPsec is basically a connection-oriented protocol. It can be used in two modes. There are two modes associated with the IPsec. One is transport mode and second is tunnel mode. So what happens in transport mode is that only the payload of the IP packet is encrypted. As we already know that the what is happening in IPsec is basically IPsec is used for authentication and encryption of the data packet. So whatever the data packet we are sending over the IPv4 network, it is used to authenticate and encrypt that. So in transport mode, in the data packet, payload is there. Okay, so in tunnel mode, only the payload of the IP packet is encrypted. But in tunnel mode, entire IP packet is encrypted and authenticated. So that is the basic difference between tunnel mode and transport mode. In tunnel mode, only the payload is encrypted and authenticated, and tunnel mode, entire IP packet is authenticated and transmitted and authenticated. Okay, encrypted. And what are the protocols of IPsec? So two protocol, this is also very important point. They have asked many times, like authentication header is associated with what? They will give four option: IPsec, PGP, SSL, TLS. They will give four option, but the correct answer would be IPsec. So IPsec has two protocols. With the help of two protocol, they will perform authentication and encryption. And these two protocols are authentication header and encapsulating security payload, ESP. And abbreviation is also very important. They will ask basic questions only. They will just wanted to check your basic skill. That's why I'm telling you these all are very important points. You have to remember that. You can create a notes for that. That is very important point. So in a nutshell, understand that IPsec is associated with the network layer. Okay, it is used for authentication and encryption of a IP packet, data packet that we have. Okay, and it is a connection oriented protocol. It works in two mode: transport mode and tunnel mode. In transport mode, only the payload is encrypted and authenticated. In tunnel mode, entire data packet is transmitted and encrypted. Protocols for IPsec sec is authentication header and ESP, encapsulating security payload. So I hope this is sufficient for this question. Let's move to the next question. Yeah, so the next question is again related to the type of viruses we have. This is also very important question from the security point of view, basically. Okay, so DAS is a form of virus explicitly designed to hide itself from detection of antivirus software. So which virus is designed to hide itself from the detection of antivirus software? Although we are using the antivirus software, that antivirus software will not able to detect that virus. What is the name of that virus? And the virus is stealth virus. This is very, very, very important virus actually. Okay, so stealth virus is a form of virus explicitly designed to hide itself from detection of antivirus software. Okay, so this is also very important. Again, I'm telling you, you have to remember that. The second question is also related to virus. That's why I have taken all this in a continuous manner so that easy to remember for you guys. So the next question is, a dash attaches itself to executable file and replicates, and when the infected program is executed by finding other executable file to insect. So what is the which virus is used to attach itself to the executable file and replicate itself? Okay, and by finding other executable file to insect basically, and it will insect this the virus to other executable files as well. So what is the name of that virus? So the virus is parasitic virus. So from the definition of parasitic only you can understand, okay, so what happens in parasitic virus is it attaches itself to the executable file, it replicates itself, and whenever the infected program is executed by finding other the executable file to insect. Okay, so two important virus you have to remember is stealth virus, which cannot be detected even by the antivirus software. Okay, and second is parasitic virus attaches itself in the executable file and replicate to other executable files as well. Okay, so these two virus is very, very, very important. Okay, now the next question is also related to virus and worm basically. So which of the following is independent malicious program that need not any host program? That is also very important, which basically does not require any host program basically. Okay, so the option is the correct option will be worm basically. Okay, so worm is independent of the malicious program and it does not require any host program to replicate. It does not require any host program basically. So worm is the correct answer. Okay, so hope I think these all three questions are related to viruses and worm, and you have to remember that. Try to write it somewhere. Try to gain the concept of this question because it's already asked in many competitive examination. Okay, now let's move to the next question. So the next question is, which measure is used to detect intruders program execution activity? So what is intruder? I hope it's a basic term nowadays in many IT organization and many newspaper you can able to see. Intruders is nothing but who is attacking yourself, who is attacking your program or wanted to know your any data or privacy information, something like that. You can say hacker will not be a similar because hacker can be a positive or a negative, but intruder is like who wanted to know your personal thing basically. So that's such type of category comes under intruders basically. So in intruders, so the question is, which measure is used to detect intruders program execution activity? So from how you can know that, how you can detect the intruder program execution activities. So the first option is login frequency, password failure at login, read frequency, and execution frequency. So before going into the correct answer, let's discuss why these options are not correct. So there are few questions where you have to eliminate the options. Okay, and by eliminating the option, you can easily mark the correct answer. This is also a best way, to attempt any competitive examination. So why login frequency will not be a correct option, or password failure at login will not be the correct answer? Because this is associated with the authentication purpose. Okay, I can give you the practical example for that. Suppose you have already initiated the two-factor authentication in your Facebook profile, and suppose I am a intruder and I just wanted to hack your Facebook profile. So what I will do is, first of all, I have to authenticate, okay, by email or password, email and password. So I know your email because I can find email very well, very easily. But for password, I will try to generate a random password, or I will guess some password. So what will happen is, if I will attempt two to three failures in password, automatic mail will receive to your email stating that someone has tried to log in with this browser, and they will locate on your map as well. So such type it comes under login frequency, or password failure at login comes under authentication failure. But here the question is program execution activities. So program execution activity can be detected by execution frequency. How fast and what is the period of time of your execution of program? By looking into that, we can detect, okay, we can detect the intruders program execution activity. Okay, so now the next question is, when one entity pretend to be a different entity, is it a dash type of attack? Very important question, very 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 important question. So when one entity pretend to be a different entity, okay, is a dash type of attack, is comes under masquerade attack. This is also very important, it's a type of attack. This is nothing related to denial of service, we have already covered. That's why I'm not taking any question related to that. Modification of message, no, nothing related with the message, because the question is which when one entity pretend to be a different entity, is a dash type of attack and is a masquerade attack. You have to remember that this is also a very common term related to information security. And banking examination, basically, the nationalized bank, the question setters basically ask such type of question that they used to receive in day-to-day activity. So that is also a very commonly used day-to-day activity information security term, masquerade. So that you have to remember, that when one entity pretend to be a different entity, is a dash type of attack, is a masquerade type of attack. Okay, so hope this question is also very much clear to you. Again, you have to remember this. You have to, revise this. All the questions are very important. I think you have to revise 2 to 3 times. Then only you can have a better understanding. You can gain the concept, because we are discussing here concepts as well. Because answer is not important. We are discussing a lot of things related to the questions. Okay. So the next question is, keys that are dash bits long cannot be cracked by brute force means within a reasonable period of time. Okay, so first of all, I think brute force will be a new term for you guys. So first of all, understand what is brute force attack. So the brute force attack is a trial and error method used to obtain the information such as username or personal identification number. In a brute force attack, automated software is used to generate a large number of consecutive guesses as of the value of the desired data. So brute force attack is basically a trial and error method used to gain your authentication, gain your credentials, gain your PIN number, something like that. So it's basically, as previously I told, if I want to access your Facebook, I will type a random password, but that is manual thing. But this is a program, basically, a automated software used to generate a large number of consecutive guesses. It will, work on the a trial and error method, and it will guess a large number of numbers so that it will fit into that category, and so that I can gain the personal information, I can gain the authentication, I can gain the credential for that particular purpose. Okay, so that is nothing but a brute force attack. So brute force attack means, in a simple way, it's a trial and error method to gain the authentication. So the question is, keys that are dash bits long cannot be cracked by brute force means within a reasonable period of time. So what should be the length of that key that cannot be cracked by brute force attack? So brute force attack, as I told, it is a software used to generate a random number of sequence of numbers. It will create a trial and error method or it will guess your password and personal account. So what should be the minimum bits so that it cannot cracked by brute force attack? Okay, a brute force attack cannot touch such type of keys. So the length of the keys would be 128. This is also very important. If our keys length will be 128, it cannot be cracked by brute force attack. Okay, so the length would be 128. This is also very important. Again, telling you, masquerade is very important. Okay, now moving to the next question we have. Yeah, so the next question, again, I think we have already covered, and in this SBI SO October 2019 examination, they have already asked, and this is also very n number, many a time this question is repeatedly asking, what is the maximum channel utilization, or what is the efficiency basically for slotted aloha or pure aloha? So both of the things you have to remember. For slotted aloha is 36%, or for pure aloha it's 18%. That you have to remember it. Okay. So but in this question they have asked the slotted aloha. So for the slotted aloha, the maximum channel utilization or the maximum efficiency possible is 36%. Okay. Now the second question is congestion control is done by which layer? Again, I am telling you we have already discussed, but I have taken this question because it was a very good question and asked 2 to 3 times. Congestion control is done by network layer. It's nothing related with physical presentation and application. The correct answer would be network layer. Okay. I don't think it any requires any explanation or something because we have already discussed in that video. Again, I am telling you, I am requesting you guys to please watch that entire series of network and security that we have already started. Just go to my channel and you can find the playlist related to computer network and information security. Okay, so now let's move to the next question. The next question is a conventional LAN bridge specify only the function of OSI. That question also already we have discussed, under the we have discussed networking devices where we have learned what is hub, what is switches, what is bridge, what is router, what is gateway, and all those things we have already discussed. Where we have already discussed like LAN bridge basically works till data link layer, physical layer and data link layer. It will not work in network layer, it will not work in all the layers. It will work only through physical layer and data link layer, layer 1 and layer 2 device. It is also known as layer 1 and layer 2 device. So bridge work till layer 2. Okay. So bridge operate at the data link layer, and in data link layer also MAC layer. We have already told data link layer is divided into two parts. One is logical link control, second is MAC. So in Mac, Breeze works. Okay. Further, I can give you the I have given the explanation in data link layer, particularly in the Mac layer. Okay. So that you have to remember it. The next question is device on the one network can communicate with the devices on the another network. Why? This is also very important and conceptual question. Many a times you will confuse with routers also. So many a times in this option, in these options, I think router is not available, but a router creates a lot of confusion in this type of question. Suppose I am in one network and your device is in another network. I just wanted to communicate. So the best option would be through gateway only I can communicate it. So the name itself speaks everything, gateway. Okay. From this I can enter to a different network. Okay, network A and network B. Through gateway I can enter that. Okay, hope I can I think you guys are easily relate this. There is nothing hub and switch, nothing related with utility server, then nothing related with the file server. So from gateway only, one network device on one network can communicate with the device on another network through a gateway. Okay, so I hope these questions are very much clear. These all are very straightforward and basic questions, but again, I have not taken any question randomly. These all are very repeatedly asked and very important question, conceptual and standard questions I have taken. Let's move to the next question. This is also very repeatedly asked question. I have taken all the repeated questions only. The cost of the network is usually determined by. Okay, so it's under the switching from the computer network. So how you will determine the cost of the network? Through time complexity, through switching complexity, through circuit complexity, and the fourth option is none. So the correct answer is switching complexity decides the cost of the entire network. Okay, through switching complexity. Okay, so you have to remember that through switching complexity only we can decide the cost of the network. Now, the second question is also very important, conceptual question, a theoretical question. You can say that a station in a network forward incoming packets by placing them on its shortest output queue. What routing algorithm is being used? Okay, so suppose I have incoming packets and I just wanted to place them into the shortest output queue. What algorithm I have to use? So the correct option would be hot potato routing. It will not be associated with flooding. It will not be associated with static routing. It will not be associated with delta routing. The correct answer is hot potato routing. It's very important. That's why I told it's a theoretical question related to algorithm in computer network. Remember that if I have a station in a network forward incoming packets by placing them in a shortest output queue, what algorithm is used? The answer would be hot potato routing. Okay. Uh, Now the next question is which of the following TCP/IP Internet protocol is diskless machine used to obtain its IP address from a server? See this. This question seems to be very much confusing, and they have just twisted the question. But the question is simply, just read once again. You will have a better understanding. Which of the following TCP/IP protocol in diskless machine used to obtain its IP address from a server? From how can I obtain the IP address? So as I all discussed many a times, there are two things. One is address resolution protocol, and second is reverse address resolution protocol. Okay. So address resolution protocol means what? I am having an IP address and I want to know the physical address or MAC address. And reverse address resolution protocol is that what? I am having the IP address, I am having the physical address or a MAC address, and I want to know my IP address. For this, we have a RARP. Now read the question. The question is to obtain the IP address means I want basically the IP address from a server. Okay, so if I need a IP address from a server means I have a physical address, I will use RARP. Okay, so see this, how they are twisting the question. The question is very simple. How you will get the IP address from a server? Server means I have a MAC address of my server. I have a physical address of my server and I want to know the IP address. For this, RARP is used. That is the way the examiner used to twist the question. And this is they will insert something like diskless machine and all those things. But the single question is how you will get the IP address when you have a MAC address. So these all are very confusing terms. That's why I told many times, like you have to just one time you have to get the confidence what is RARP and ARP. You will not wrongly mark this type of question in the future. So let's discuss the next question. So the next question is which of the following addresses is used to deliver a message to the correct application program running on a host? So what happens in this kind of question is what is the examiner asking is which of the following addresses is used to deliver a message to the correct application program. You have to deliver the message where in the correct application program running on a host. Okay, so for that what you will use? You will use port number, IP address, logical address, physical address. So the correct answer is port number. If I am particularly interested in a particular program or a particular program running on my host, I have to specify the port number. If I want my message to be delivered in a particular program or a particular application, I have to use a particular port number for that service. Okay, I suppose I have this server. Okay, and there are a lot of services running on that. So I just wanted to send my data or a packet to this particular service. So I need a port number for that. Suppose port 443 or anything. So for that only port is used. IP will not be used. IP is used to identify that server. Logical address is same as the IP address. Physical address is the MAC address. So for particular application, we need a port number. So let's discuss few basic points related with the port number because port number is very important. Port number is a way to identify a specific process to which an internet or other network message is to be forwarded when it arrives on the server. Okay, specific port number are often used to identify specific services as I discussed. If you want to identify any specific services, every service is associated with one port number. So if you want to utilize that service, you have to mention that port number. If you want to send your data to a particular service, you have to mention that particular port number associated with that service. So that is the importance of port number. Okay, so that you have to remember that. There is a term known as socket number that also it was asked. I just recall that. So the what is socket? Socket is basically if I am having the IP address plus port number, that is known as socket. Okay, so that is different thing, but here in the question port number will be the correct answer. For any accessing any particular service, we should have a port number for that service. Okay, so let's discuss the next questions. So the next question is related with the I think we have already discussed in the last IPv4 IPv6. So the question was in there are a lot of questions formed from the IPv4, but I have taken only some unique question, because as I told in that video as well, you can have a lot of question related to the size of the payload present in the IPv4 header. But here I have taken a different unique question. In one of the examination, it was like in IPv4 header, the dash field is needed to allow the destination host to determine which datagram is newly arrived fragments. Okay, so this is done by which the functionality present in the IPv4 header. So this is done by identification. So, okay, through identification is a 16 bits. We have seen in that video. Again, I am telling you, just go and watch that IPv4 and IPv6 series. We have discussed all the components involved in the IPv4 header, their size, their functionality, everything we have discussed. So, for identification is a 16 bits. It's also very important. This is used to determine which datagram is newly arrived. Okay, this is done by identification. TTL is different, we have already discussed. It is used to limit the packet lifetimes. Okay, header checksum basically used for the error control and all those things. It just verify the header only. Okay, so identification is the correct option for this question. Identification determine which datagram is newly arrived fragment. So in this question you have to note 2 points. One is the functionality of identification, that is already, this is a question. Datagram, which datagram is newly arrived fragments, this is done by identification component of the IPv4 header, and the size of identification is 16 bits. Okay, and those who are not aware of IPv4, I have mentioned 2 point as well. TTL is used to limit packet lifetimes, and header checksum verify the headers only. This is used for basically the error correction. Okay, error detection and error correction. Time to live is basically for the packet lifetimes, and identification is basically which datagram is newly arrived. Okay, so again I'm telling you, just go and watch that video. That will give you a better understanding, and then if you will jump into that question, you can easily relate. A diagram will form in your mind. Okay, so now next, moving to the next question. The minimum frame length of 10 Mbps Ethernet is dash byte, and maximum length is dash bytes. Okay, just ignore 10 Mbps. Just this is just for confuse you guys. So the question is basically, what is the minimum and maximum frame length size of a Ethernet? That is the basic question. So you have to understand what is the minimum frame size and what is the maximum frame. This is also very important. Okay. So the minimum frame size is 18 plus 46 is equal to 64 byte, and the maximum frame size is 1500 plus 18 is equal to 1518 byte. So the correct answer is 64 and 1518. 64 is the minimum size and maximum size is 1518. Now you will have a confusion what is 18 every time I am mentioning. So 18 is, see, in every data packets, there are two things. One is payload, and other are different components like src, source address, destination address, preamble, something like that. In every packets, preamble will be there, source address will be there, destination address will be there. Okay, some data correction, data reduction checksum will be there, but our payload is fixed. Okay, that's why I mentioned here explicitly the minimum payload is 46 byte and the maximum payload is 1500 bytes. So the payload is fixed here, and all the things are different components like preamble, source address, destination and address, checksum, something like that. So these all are 18 bytes. Okay, and if I am adding these 18 bytes in the payload, I will get the frame size. So the minimum frame size is 64 byte and the maximum frame size is 1518 byte. And sometimes they will ask the payload size as well. So the minimum payload size will be 46 byte and the maximum payload size will be 1500 byte. So these all are very, very, very important points. You have to remember that. Okay, I have I am explaining in a very simple words, like what will be the minimum frame size. It's asking the whole frame. So the whole frame size will be payload plus additional components. So it's 64 bytes. There again, maximum frame size. So frame size would be the payload plus additional component 1518. And if you are asking particularly about the payload, so the minimum payload will be 46 byte and the maximum payload will be 1500 bytes. Hope, I think now you will have a better understanding. Now the next question is, which one of the following is not a client server application? Okay, internet chat, web browser, email, or ping. So this is a basic question. By looking into the option, you can easily say that ping is nothing related with the client server application. Those who are network engineers or who are working in a networking domain can easily relate that ping is basically a command we use to see whether our particular IP address is reachable or not. In your command prompt only, just open your PC and type any random IP address like 121.1.1.2. Open your PC, go to the command prompt and type 121.1.1.2, and after that just add ping and click on enter. You will see that it will give you all the time to leave and whether this particular IP address is accessible or not. So such type of things we can do from ping. So ping is basically a command. This is nothing related with the client server application. And these all are client server application. Okay. So what is client server application? Name itself speak everything like I am a client. Okay. I just wanted to use like internet chat. I am using Messenger. Okay. I am a client. I am using Messenger. So I am just requesting some files or something like that. So it will start creating a communication from client and the Messenger server hosted somewhere in the Facebook office. So such type of communication happens in client server application model. Email also same thing. Suppose I am using Outlook or Gmail and I want to access some of the Gmail. So it will communicate with the Gmail server. So it's nothing but a client server model. Okay, such type of things happen. Web browser also, suppose if you want to access any of the files through HTTPS. So again, it will start two-way communication between client and a server. But ping is nothing related with the client server application. Okay, so these all are related with the client server application, but ping is nothing related with the client server application. Hope now you will have a better understanding. Let's move to the next question. Yeah, so the next question is which of the following protocol is used for transferring electronic mail messages from one machine to another? This is basic question, but why I have taken here is because this is very repeatedly asked question. So that's why I have taken it. So for transferring the mail, the only protocol that we have been using is SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. Telnet is nothing related with that. Telnet is basically for the remote login. File transfer protocol is basically used for the transferring of file. SNMP is nothing related with the electronic mail. So the correct answer is SMTP. And one more thing I just wanted to let you guys know that there are two things. One is SMTP and second is POP3 or IMAP. So these all both are related to the email. But the basic difference is that if you want to send that email, SMTP will be used. And if you want to access the email from the email server, we have two protocol, POP3 and IMAP. Okay, so these two things we have to remember that. Okay, so now let's move to the next question. So the next question is related to topology that we have already covered. What is if there are n devices or n nodes in a network, what is the number of cables required for a fully connected mesh and a star topology? So as we know that for mesh topology, the number of cables required is n into n minus 1 upon 2, and for star topology the number of cables required is n minus 1. That we have already covered in that video. Already I told mesh is very important because its reliability is very high. In all the topologies we have star topology, mesh topology, bus topology, we have ring topology. The most reliable, the most highest reliability is of ring topology. And star topology, the maximum number of devices is basically n minus 1. If we have n devices, number of cable required is n minus 1. In star topology also, the industry is moving towards the star topology nowadays. So that 2 to 3 points you have to remember this. Again, these formula are very important. If they will ask any formula, the highest probability is mesh topology they will ask because it has highest reliability and the formula is n into n minus 1 upon 2. You can write nc2 in the combination and permutation forms as well. Okay, so the next question is what is the maximum size of data that the application layer can pass on the TCP layer below? That is very important. Let's concentrate this question. What is the maximum size of data, okay, that the application layer can pass onto the TCP layer below? Okay, what will be the maximum size of data that application layer can pass? First, let's discuss the options. Any size of data it can pass: 2 raised to power 16 bytes of size of TCP header, or 2 raised to power 16 byte size, or 1500 bytes. So the correct answer would be any size. Why? Because I have mentioned below, since application layer does not have any restriction of size of data. In application layer, I don't think you will find anywhere related to the restriction of size of data. You can transfer any size of data from the application layer to the below layer, and it can send any size of data to the transport layer. So that's why there is no any restriction, there is no anything related to the maximum size of data or a minimum size of data. You can transfer, you can send any size of data to the TCP layer, which is below the application layer. I hope now you guys got a better understanding. And the next question is SHA1 is this is again related to the algorithm, basically cryptography part. So the options are encryption algorithm, decryption algorithm, key exchange algorithm, message digest function. Okay, so let's discuss what are the important point. Again, I'm telling you, answer is not important. The simple answer is SHA1 is a message digest function. You have to remember that SHA1 is a message digest function. So now understand what is SHA and the important points related to SHA. SHA is a secure hashing algorithm. The abbreviation of SHA is a secure hashing algorithm used in cryptography to create a message digest, okay, that we have already seen. It is a cryptographic hash function which takes an input and produces a 160-bit or a 20-byte hash value known as message digest, typically rendered as a hexadecimal number 40 digits long. So now I think you got an idea what is SHA, what is the full form of SHA, secure hashing algorithm. It is just used to create the message digest. And message digest is of 20 byte 160-bit hash value. Okay, so SHA1 is based. Now we have SHA3 as well. Okay, now we have SHA2, SHA3 is the latest version of SHA. But the basic thing you have to remember is SHA is basically used for message digest function. All you have to need, you have to learn is, all you have to remember is message digest function. SHA1 is a message digest function. Okay, this is I think related to SHA1. Let's move to the next questions. Yeah, so the next question is DES consists of dash rounds to perform the substitution and transposition. DES is very, very, very important thing. That's why I think I have already covered a lot of DES in first part of computer network and information security. If you go into my channel, the first video, the very first video I have uploaded is related with the DES and RSA algorithm. So you can refer that videos as well. In this question, I have just mentioned few points because here we are just discussing the questions basically. So DES consists of dash rounds to perform the substitution and transposition. So it's the simple answer would be 16. Okay, it's not 18, not 21, not 25. You have to remember 16 is the correct answer. DES consists of 16 rounds to perform the substitution and transposition. And few more important thing you have to remember is DES abbreviation is data encryption standard. It is a symmetric key algorithm. It's a block cipher. It's also asked many of the time, it's a block cipher or what. So DES is a block cipher, and DES uses 56-bit key. This is also very, very, very important. Asked 2 to 3 times. What is the key size length of DES? Is 56-bit, not a 64-bit. Okay, it's a 56-bit. And the full form and block cipher. These all four are very, very, very important point. And as I've told, we have already discussed a lot of stuffs and a lot of concepts related to DES algorithm. So please go and watch that video. That will be very useful for your upcoming examination. And the next question is X.509 recommend dash algorithm. Okay, in the last video as well, and I think in one of the video we have discussed as X.509. So X.509 is related with the certificate management. In that video also I told if you see anything related with the certificate management, it's nothing but X.509. So X.509 recommend dash algorithm. Okay. So let's discuss the option DES, triple DES, RSA, and blowfish. So the correct answer is RSA. Why? Because let's discuss this. An X.509 certificate is a digital certificate that uses the widely accepted international X.509 public key infrastructure. I have already discussed what is PKI, okay, standard to verify that a public key belongs to the user, computer, or a service identity contained within the certificate. Okay, so it is used to verify that the public key which belongs to the user or a computer or a service contained within the certificate. That is the whole purpose of X.509, and it comes under PKI, public key infrastructure. Okay, so that is the basic. So here what you have to remember is X.509 recommends which algorithm? RSA algorithm. This is not DES. There will be a lot of confusion in the examination. X.509 recommend RSA algorithm. Okay, so that you have to remember that. So now the next question is, dash define a format of text message that are sent using the electronic mail. So whatever the mail we are, used to, the mail server or the mail client we are using for sending the mail, there is a proper format that every mail client has to follow that. So that format comes under RFC 822. This is also very important if they will ask anything related to the security part. So that standard plays a very important role basically. So all these standard you have to remember that RFC 822 basically it's asked one of the competitive examination already asked in one of the competitive examination. RFC 822 is related to what? So basically RFC 882 related to the email services. Okay, it is basically related to the email services. So the question was, dash define a format for text message that are sent using electronic mail. Okay, so the question answer would be RFC 822. So the internet RFC 822 specifies specification define an electronic message format consisting of header field and an optional message body. So in this format, everything is already been decided. What will be the header field? What will be the optional component? What will be the message body part? So the whole mail format uh, is described under which protocol, or you can say that it's a specification comes under RFC 822. You have to remember that for any mail related format, all the things you will find under RFC 822. Okay, so RFC 836 will not be there, RFC 348 will not be there, RFC 356 will not be there. So the correct option will be RFC 822. Okay, so I hope these all are the questions that I wanted to discuss with you guys. Basically, these all are the top 50 selected questions I have taken, mixer of computer network and information security. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. But again, I'm telling you, you have to watch this video 2 to 3 times to have a better understanding, because I have discussed a lot of concept in each and every question, and that will definitely boost your mark and confidence for your upcoming examination. Again, I am telling you, we have already covered a lot of videos related to computer network, information security, software engineering. Please go and watch. You can find in our playlist of the channel, and that will definitely boost your confidence. And please provide your feedback in the comment section. Subscribe my channel. Okay, so thank you again for watching this video. Thanks again. Have a great day.